What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. So, got a lot to talk about today. We're going to be rambling just a little bit. I want to talk about hitting 50,000 subscribers this week. I want to talk about the Planet Destiny podcast and interviewing Luke Smith. And I want to talk about the changes to Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris. So, let's start off with 50,000 subs. This is a huge number to me, right? I'm not the biggest YouTuber out there, not by any means, not even by a long shot, but 50,000 to me it's definitely a milestone, and it's definitely it's definitely something that I've looked at and said, wow, that's a big number. Now, it wasn't that long ago that I had 5,000 subs. It wasn't that long ago I had 500 subs, but it's not really me who's doing this, right? It's like I get to make the videos, I get to play Destiny a lot, and I get to talk to you guys on through YouTube quite a bit, but it's really you guys that support the channel, who retweet it out, who comment on it, who hit that like button, and it's really your support that's made all this possible. So I really want to send a big thank you to all you guys watching the videos, hitting that like button, hitting subscribe, retweeting, all of that stuff. It's amazing how much that kind of stuff really helps the channel build and grow, and it's been a really amazing ride so far. It's far from over, but I gotta say thank you to everybody. It's been an amazing ride so far. 50K, you can't imagine the elation that I had when I realized I'd hit 50K. It was really cool. So moving on from that, Luke Smith. So we got to interview Luke Smith on the podcast, the Planet Destiny podcast, and I don't think the podcast is live yet. I think it'll be going up later today. So it may already be up by the time you're actually listening to this commentary, but as of recording it, it's not up yet. I can't wait for this to go live because I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. It's going to go up on Planet Destiny. There's an iTunes file. I'll try and put a link to the iTunes link so you guys can find the podcast, but it'll definitely be on Planet Destiny's YouTube page as well. I got to say, this is the first time I met Luke Smith, and I was super impressed with him. I have known of Luke Smith for many, many years. When he used to work for OneUp.com, the kind of now defunct video game website, he was on the One Up Yours podcast with a couple other guys, Garnett Lee. There was a bunch of guys on that podcast that I really liked at the time. But Luke Smith was one of the standouts, and he had a way of interviewing and a way of looking at kind of the details of a story that I found really interesting. And to be honest with you, he was one of my inspirations for trying to get into, thinking more deeply about video games as a whole. And then when he moved to Bungee, he started the Bungee Podcast, and that was really fun because I was a big Halo fan at the time. So listening to the Bungee Podcast, you got to hear inside looks at the development of Halo, what people were up to inside Bungee at the time, and that was really great. And then he kind of disappeared. He got kind of promoted into a development role, and now we've seen a lot more of him since Destiny, since Vault of Glass came out, now that the Taken King is out. Obviously, he had that big gaffe kind of during the summer, right after E3. There's really bad sentiments toward him because of the words he used. The phrasing he chose was really suboptimal, I gotta say. But me having kind of always been a fan of Luke Smith, I was able to look past it, and it was really awesome to talk to him for the first time. It's weird to talk to somebody that you've known for so long in like a one-directional relationship, right? Somebody that I had been listening to and following for so long. To finally talk to him for the first time was really, really cool. And I gotta say, part of that podcast, he talked about a lot about the development of the Taken King raid and the Vault of Glass raid. And I gotta be honest with you, the stuff he said about the Vault of Glass raid, I think because that's older content now, so he can be a little more open about it, right? He doesn't have to hide any details about Vault of Glass anymore. The stuff he said about the design that went into that, the choices that were made, how things came to be in the Vault of Glass was really interesting. Vault of Glass, up till the Taken King, was without a doubt my favorite piece of content in Destiny, and one of my favorite gaming experiences in general. So to hear him kind of talk about the development process and the decisions that went into building that was really fun. I think you guys are going to enjoy it quite a bit too. So definitely look out for the Planet Destiny podcast this week with Luke Smith. It was a really long interview. It's like an hour and a half long. But the guy can talk. He's been a podcaster before. He's been in the media before. The guy knows how to talk. So a lot of times we just let him go, and He gave some nice, juicy details, especially about the Vault Glass. It was really interesting stuff. That was awesome. That was kind of, it was, I'm going to be honest here. It was a little bit of starstruck for me. I was a little bit starstruck by that interview. I'm not a professional journalist by any means. I'm not a professional interviewer by any means. But it was awesome. We actually had about 50 questions. The Planet Destiny writers, right? There's a team of writers that work for Planet Destiny. They gave us a list of about 50 questions. And I mean, we had ideas from the community. We had ideas from the writers. There was a ton of different ways we could go. The interview went really well. Luke Smith was super cool in it, and it was really fun to do. I'm sure it's going to be fun to listen to. I also want to talk about the changes to Iron Banner and Trials. Let's talk about Iron Banner a little bit. So yesterday during the weekly update, we heard that Iron Banner and Trials are going to be making a return very soon. Iron Banner is really going to change the way it works. First of all, if you want to buy gear from Lord Saladin, you're going to have to spend legendary marks to do it. Now, in the past, if you've wanted to buy gear from Lord Saladin, it's just cost Glimmer. It's cost a lot of Glimmer. Lord Saladin's gear never came cheap. In fact, if you wanted to buy 2 or 3 pieces, you're going to have to go to that exclusion zone, farm some Glimmer for sure. But now it's going to be legendary marks, and I'll guarantee you it's still going to be expensive. However, when you're competing in the Iron Banner, you're actually going to get drops after matches, and armor has been added to the loot table, so you're not just going to get weapon drops, you're also going to get armor drops, and that, Bungie is saying, is going to be your primary way of obtaining Iron Banner gear. Assuming it works out like that, assuming that you actually do get the drops you want, I see that as a more rewarding experience. But if you're not getting the drops you want, let's say the loot table for that week is a shotgun, a hand cannon, a chest piece, and maybe boots. And you really want that chest piece, it's not coming, and you really want that shotgun, and it's not coming. What if both of those pieces cost like 150 legendary marks? Will you have time to spend 150 legendary marks on the shotgun and then save up another 150 to buy the chest piece? If you're not getting lucky in those drops, and we all know we've been in that position that we're just not getting the drops we want, that could be a real pain in the neck. I see why they did it. You know, farming for Glimmer really sucked with the old Iron Banner. I hated it, right? Whenever I saw that the Iron Banner was coming, I always made sure to go to the exclusion zone, make sure my Glimmer stack was full, so that when I wanted to purchase something from Lord Saladin, I had the money to do it. And then if I wanted to purchase a few things, I'd have to go back to the exclusion zone and start farming again. Especially if you have like 3 characters, it gets really expensive and really tedious. Iron Banner, there's more play time in the exclusion zone than there is in the actual playlist of the Iron Banner. So I'm hoping that this washes that away. There's not going to be any more Glimmer farming associated with the Iron Banner. But because it's legendary marks, it may just be, yeah, there's no Glimmer farming, but there's no way to get all the gear you want, right? There's no way to fully, kind of get all the gear. Let's say there's chest pieces for each of the characters, and you want one for your Hunter, you want one for your Warlock, and you want one for your Titan. You want the shotgun, you want the boots for all 3 characters. It just might not be possible to get everything. So it might be that it stretches out the Iron Banner as a playlist, like over time, over months, because you're going to have to wait for those boots to come around again. But, if I'm already playing all 3 characters, if I'm putting a lot of time in, I feel like that should be rewarded. If the drop rate is good, then it will be. If it's not, and we've seen Bungie kind of mess up drop rates before, then it could be really frustrating. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm not sure how it's going to go. Trials of Osiris is changing too. Some of the things that are changing with Trials of Osiris I'm really keen on. Some of the things I'm definitely taking a wait-and-see approach to. First of all, only the winning team gets gear drops. The more you win, the better the gear. My guess is that Watcher tier of gear from Trials of Osiris is going away. That was always kind of a sub-level of gear. It was never really prized. Everybody wanted that top layer, or top tier of Exile gear. And I think that'd probably be a good decision, but now only the winning team will get drops of gear. Which, makes sense. Trials of Osiris is about winning. You have to win to succeed in Trials of Osiris. If you don't win, then you don't get anything. Now, the more you win, the better the gear you get is. That kind of goes along with how it worked already. It's just they're changing the way it works, I guess. So, before, as you won, as you filled up your scorecard, as you got 5 wins, you get different levels of packages available from Brother Vance. You go back to Brother Vance, you open those packages, and hopefully, there's something really good in there. Sometimes you knew exactly what was going to be in it. Sometimes you didn't know. Now, that's going to be gone. There's going to be bounties instead, and the bounties will reward players who can't make it to the lighthouse. Now, that goes against what Trials of Osiris really is, but it does give people who don't necessarily have a shot of getting to the lighthouse a better shot of getting that awesome gear, because Trials of Osiris gear is hot. It's always been good, it was good last time. Hopefully it's just as good this time. Hopefully it drops at a nice high level for us so we don't have to infuse a bunch of stuff into it. Hopefully it's got a bunch of really PvP focused attributes to it, and hopefully people who don't necessarily make it to the lighthouse every week can still get their hands on it anyway, because it can be really hard to get to the lighthouse for a lot of people. And I actually think it's going to get harder now, because in the future, Bungie is going to attempt to switch up the matchmaking a little bit, so the more wins you have, the more frequently you're going to come up against teams that have a similar number of wins than you. So if you've only got 1 win, then you're going to have like a large pool of people where you can get matched up with teams that only have 1 win. So you're going to find that the competition is probably a little less fierce at that level. But as you move up, as you get more and more wins, you're going to get matched up with other teams with the same amount of wins. So if you have 5 wins, you're going to see teams that also have 5 wins. And if you got 8 wins, you're also going to get matched up with teams that have 8 wins. That is going to be a tough match. It's almost guaranteed to be a tough match every time, because both of those teams are fighting their last match to get to the lighthouse. Everything is out there. Everything is on the table. We've got to win this match. It's our last one to get to the lighthouse. And both teams have proven that they can get 8 wins. It should be pretty interesting. We'll have to see how it works. They have said that this will be secondary to connection. Connection will still be a priority when matchmaking for Trials of Osiris, which is great, because the Trials of Osiris matchmaking has always felt less laggy than other forms of Crucible, especially the Iron Banner. So hopefully this doesn't mess that up at all. So a lot's changing, a lot's staying the same. I think it's going to be, I'm really excited. Again, I want to thank you guys for hitting 50K subs. I mean, it's really been a thrill ride. This summer was absolutely insane with the upcoming Taken King and the release of the Taken King, getting to meet a ton of new people, streaming on Twitch, reading your comments in the YouTube comments. It's been an absolute thrill ride. I want to thank you guys again for all the support, for everything you guys have given me. Definitely check out the Luke Smith interview we did with Planet Destiny on the Planet Destiny podcast. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. And I'll see you guys in the Iron Banner and Trials of Osiris coming right up. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.